Well, what's going on, guys? The Steeler here, back again with RDX podcast. A few members short right now. We got some situations going on. D just decided to not show up, so we're trying to figure out where the fuck he's at. His track record's a little spotty. He's definitely not getting Employee of the Month. And then
being a father.
And Luca had to call out today due to an appointment. She might show up later. We do have Noof coming and perhaps someone else. So D may also show up. I guess we're just at the mercy of it all right now. So aside from that, I want to thank you guys so much for waiting. We waited 10 minutes, and we're just going to go ahead with it. But we got three of the best in the game, including myself, of course. We're going to start with some intros as we get into the awesomeness that is to come, starting with Cole Eastwood. Brother, how you been?
Really good. Just kind of hanging out, waiting for God of War, and playing back and pack games to fill in the gaps.
Back compact games.
Yeah, why not, huh? Red Dead in 4K.
Yeah, Red Dead in 4K looks absolutely phenomenal. Matter of fact, Kotaku had an interesting piece to say on that. We'll get into that later. Fonz, what you been up to, bro?
Hey, man, I'm waiting for that God of War, just like everybody else with a PS4. Excited about that. And I've been just checking out. You know, I turned on the PlayStation 4 Pro for the first time in like 7 months, man. And, you know, the roaches ran out. The cobwebs are gone. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking through it and I'm going through the UI and stuff. I'm like, man, this feels like a totally new console. I haven't been on it in so long. And I fired up a game like Horizon Zero Dawn and I started playing a little bit of that. And I just thought to myself, man, you know, I wish Xbox had games like this, you know, and I'm not a real diss on Xbox. It's just that, you know, exclusive wise, it's a little thin. And I think we'll get into some of that later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's some people that, you know, they would beg to differ, and that's what the discussion's all about. It should be a great time. Speaking of PS4, I also booted it up for the first time in 5,000 years, and I noticed that they copped the follower system from Xbox. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
that was weird.
They took another feature from the Xbox One.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Sony, they're the masters of just stealing your shit, low key. No one says shit, right? So I don't know,
Xbox,
man.
Yeah, Xbox is still working on the Twitter thing, which would be a nice feature to get that right. So, yeah we'll learn from each other.
I think it's funny, though, because the OS has really evolved much like the Xbox OS, right? Like you push in the PlayStation button, you got the friends there now, the messages there now, even though it doesn't have the operating systems to do it all simultaneously and pull up the messages right then and there. You know, when you hit messages, it takes you out of your game or whatever. You know, they've evolved their OS to do a lot of that stuff, which I find funny. So you don't be surprised if PS5's got 2 HDMI ports, but we digress. Like I said, we are waiting for a few people. We'll see what happens. Also, we're going to get this out here now because I'm going to start looking for candidates here. Luca, this is her last month on the show, so she's got another week or two. And I want to get out here this week because I want to start finding somebody to fill in that slot. We're looking for somebody that, you know, is excited about these topics, just as interested as we are, and that is also entertaining or fun to listen to. Someone that would feel at home here. You know,
and might I add, dependable.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with the goat petter. I know he just had a kid though, so you know, you never know. He might have just fell asleep sitting up watching a kid for 16 hours. You just never fucking know. And Noof said yesterday that he'd be a little late. So once again, we apologize, guys. We're going to get into some topics, starting with the Kotaku article. Actually, they say Red Dead by itself and the 4K update on the X is worth buying an Xbox One X. That is quite the claim. Would you agree, Fonz? That's an expensive back compact game.
To use their own ammo, you know, with them, yeah.
Yep. What do you think about that? Do you think Red Dead in 4K on the X is worth buying an X? According to Kotaku, they think it is.
You know what? Because Red Dead is near and dear to my heart, it's my favorite game ever. I would like agree with them, but no. I mean, honestly, objectively, you got to look at it and say, of course, this old game isn't going to sell systems, but you know, man, it's hard for me to answer that way, but I got to be honest, man. No, of course it isn't. Backwards compatibility is not really system sellers, guys. I know some people like to think that, you know, it's a huge deal. It is a huge deal. This is hard to really tackle here, but I think for preservation's sake, for, enhancement's sake, it's awesome. It's a great option, but it's just definitely not a system seller to me.
Well, what if you have a lot of 360 games you own, or you have a big digital title, a big digital library of 360 games? And what if, let's say, 10 360 games you get a year with games with gold are cool enough for you? Like, that's kind of if you're a big Xbox guy, that's kind of I don't know. I guess you already have an Xbox.
Cool. Salty just joined the room, man. Thanks. Reinforcements have arrived.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Guy, we desperately needed someone else in here. Thank you. This is Salty, of course. Follow him at Saltiest Gaming. We're talking about back compat. Kotaku says that the price of the Xbox One X is easily vindicated through Red Dead Redemption 4K update alone. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that if you're a big power guy and you like the best visuals and you're really a big Red Dead fan, I think that maybe you could justify the price, but it's kind of stretching it. And it's interesting to hear this news coming from them, because a lot of people preach that media bias situation, and this is anything but, right? I think that this article proves the opposite, if anything, So.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, right? Coming from them, because they've been blacklisted for all of their fuckery in the past and all this shit. So, I mean, it is interesting. I also wanted to add to the panel member situation, to the people listening. If you listen to somebody that's not really in this community, like I've heard some names that I've not seen in this community before, maybe send them this and message them on Twitter. Let them know that we're looking for certain types of people and see where that goes, because as you guys can tell, this show is built around a lot of people that you probably never heard of before, and it offers a fresh take. So that's what we want to continue to do. So just letting you guys know, if you got a favorite creator or someone you think would mesh well, message them on Twitter, add them on Twitter, let them know, and we'll see where that goes. We're looking for members in the next 2 weeks. So thank you guys so much. Black Ops 4 being reported on that it does not have a traditional single-player campaign. Do you think it's still going to have a campaign at all, Fonz? What's going on here?
You know what? I don't know. And honestly, with games like Call of Duty and all this, I think primarily they focus on multiplayer anyway, and that is the big draw. So for them not to have a campaign, if it doesn't have a campaign, I don't think it's really going to hurt it all that much, to be honest, because most people, a lot of these guys don't even play the campaign that are into Call of Duty. They just go right to the multiplayer and have fun with that. I'm not a big fan of the series, so I'm probably the last guy to really ask about this, but that's the way I see it anyway. From the outside looking in, I think most of these guys, it seems that they don't really care for the campaigns anyway.
Yeah, well, that's something to chat and help us with, because some guys never touch a campaign. I myself feel like out of principle alone, maybe they should offer a single player campaign, because it's Activision. Like, they already make so much money, it's ridiculous. So I don't know, why not add it? I enjoy them. I mean, anybody else have something to say on this?
Well, don't they spend a lot of time and money making that campaign? They do all the motion capture and the voice acting and the writing for the story. Like, Dealer, you and I both played all the way through Call of Duty World War II's campaign, and it was pretty good. Josh Duhamel.
It wasn't too bad, yeah.
In there, and yeah, it was pretty decent.
Here's my question for you: would you have played it had it not had the campaign?
No. No. I mean, that's the only thing I played on World War II. I played the beta of the multiplayer, had some fun with friends, joking around and getting killed, but I enjoyed that campaign. It was pretty decent.
Well, hey, somebody asked about bully hunters. I don't know. Sorry, man, in the chat. I don't know what's going on with that situation or the context behind it. A little behind. What do you think, Salty, about COD Black Ops 4?
If you look at Overwatch, it's under the same umbrella, right? Activision, Blizzard, and some of that stuff. They came out with strict, multiplayer only, and they've added content, both PvP and PvE. I heard some rumors that the campaign wasn't finished for Black Ops, so maybe it's coming at a later date. But if you see these games as a service model, it's multiplayer faceted, Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch. So they might be going down this route. I know they're going to piss a lot of people off that like the campaign. I personally have, jumped right into the multiplayer when I was a COD fan. and I didn't really do the campaign. So I think they're still going to make their money. They're going to piss people off in the short term, but they're still going to be up there, you know, when it comes to the sales charts. They'll still be making the money, you know? So.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to find ways, right, Fonz?
Yep, definitely, man.
Always going to find ways to fuck the last dollar out of your pocket.
Yeah, and best believe they're going to have microtransactions out the wazoo for this.
Oh, man, I have zero faith in Activision's ability to have a soul in any way, which, and speaking of souls, Noof Nukem, man. He just
boom, kaboom. Yes, I am here. Better late than never, right?
Better late than never.
That's
Speaking
right.
of better late than never, man, we got
just like Xbox exclusives.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
You gotta be able to pick fun sometimes, man. That's the name of the game. We also got 300 people watching just about already. Hit that like button as you guys enter. Grab a drink, grab a crack rock, do whatever you got to do. We're gonna have a lot of good topics today. And at Noof, we're just talking about Black Ops for lack of a single player campaign. What do you think about that as we move forward?
Whoa. Well, obviously I'm out of the loop because I didn't hear about that, but Black Ops 4 lacking a single player campaign.
Those are the reports thus far. We must add that in there again. Those are the reports.
Okay.
The reports are that it could lack a traditional single player campaign, meaning it could be vastly different or it could just lack it entirely.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, what was there? They did that with one of the 360 versions, wouldn't they? They took the campaign out. Was it Advanced Warfare? Or was it which game was it on the 360? They actually pulled it.
I think it was Advanced Warfare.
Yeah, they pulled it out. They had it in on the Xbox One version, but they didn't have it for the 360. It was really weird.
Kevin Spacey for you.
Well, they might be trying to take him out of the games anyway after all that crap that's been going on with him. But yeah, I don't know, man. If it turns out to be true, it's going to be disappointing for a lot of people like myself who happen to basically, I buy the Call of Duty games primarily for their single player campaigns. Like to me personally, World War II wouldn't have been half as good a game if it was just the multiplayer. It's not bad on its own, but you know, I know there's more longevity in multiplayer. That's where the money is for Activision. But at the same time, you know, the campaign really offers a great narrative and an entertainment proposition for your money. So hopefully they'll put it in, and most likely they will.
Yeah, that's what I was asking Cole. It's like, hey, man, would you have bought in World War II if it did not have a single-player campaign? And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh, well, that's something that Activision should consider. And D-Batch, looky there. D-Batch shows up after all. What's going on, fucker?
Oh, my life has changed.
Oh,
gosh,
no.
I'm getting
coming in here in tears. So we know you just got a new
baby
baby.
crying.
All I can say, yeah, both of us are late, so thank God we're not porn stars. We'd have been fired.
Must be Canadian.
I've got to ask Dee a question now. Since you are the champ, the fighting champ of the week. Now you,
Why is there no uppercuts?
you said you just had a kid. Do you mean a baby goat or a real life baby?
No, man, it's a real life baby.
Still have the new baby smell on it?
Yeah, it has that new baby smell. Doo-doo.
All right. I'm going to ask you real quick, D, because we got to move forward. Activision are thinking about fucking us all, no lube, taking the campaign out of Call of Duty. Black Ops 4, what do you think?
What?
Jesus. Yeah, it's happening. Probably. Reportedly. Maybe. Perhaps. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
That's the most idiotic thing I've heard all day. Like, I of course we all enjoy the multiplayer aspect of Call of Duties, but come on, we definitely get it for the single player experience as well. I don't know what these guys are thinking. They're probably going to try to tack it on later and charge us for it or something. I don't know, man.
Obviously, yeah.
Another revenue stream.
Like don't gimp out on the game. If the game is not ready yet and you don't have the full campaign fully done, delay the game.
It's always ready though. Call of Duty's always ready. It's never delayed.
It's the most expensive part of the game to make, and I think they're just trying to save even more money. They need more and more billions and billions, and they need to find a way to fuck you out of more and more money and money. So that's our opinions on the panel here. Ultimately, you guys in the chat are the bottom line. So let us know what you think about this, because hey, these are just some opinions of us here. So State of Decay 2 going to Steam. Some people acting like this is a big fucking deal. I'm not really sure why. I posted this. I said this on Twitter. State of Decay 1 was on Steam, and the game is already on PC. Of course, State of Decay 2 is going to Steam, so I'm not really sure. I mean, is this a big deal at all, D?
No.
Do you think?
It's not. Wasn't the original game on Steam anyways?
Yeah, I just said that.
And the game, it's not like it's an Xbox exclusive game. The game is on PC in the Windows Store anyways. What are people freaking out about?
It's just one of those not on PS4 games. Oh, we can't say console exclusive anymore. We can't say Xbox exclusive. We just say not on PS4. That's all you can do at this point.
Cuphead was the same thing. Cuphead went to Steam as well. Like, I don't understand it. If it's on the PC platform, who cares if it's on Steam or the Windows Store? It's going to be on the PC platform anyways. We know this. What's the big deal?
I don't know.
Why can't people just understand that there's people that just don't like PC gaming like myself? You know, I don't shit on it. I think PC gaming is fine for those that like it, but I'm a console gamer through and through. I don't care if a game is going to be on PC as well. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't give a damn.
Well, this is the problem, Fonz, is certain PC guys think that they're just smarter or they just have more money than everyone else. And that's why they had the honor of gaming on PC. When in reality, if you ask any console guy why they're not gaming on PC, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to fuck with it. They don't want to deal with the inconsistencies of PC gaming. And they are there. Believe me, motherfucker hasn't had a PC for a month and a half. Believe me, they are there. There's probably
how are PC guys have more money when they're spending like $500 on a mid-range GPU? I think they're out of money.
Well, to them, they're still in the paradox where that never happened. So
you guys, how dare you both talk negative about?
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You know, there is never problems with a PC. I've never had issues with it. I've never had a hard drive failure and completely ruined my PC. No, that never happens, according to these guys.
It's idiotic.
I've never heard any of them talk in any facet whatsoever negatively, and that's whatever. That's fine. You hear us criticize Xbox all the time, but that's us. Those guys, they want to hide it, whatever, but coming from me, who's probably got a better rig than most people in the world, 8700K, 16 gigs of RAM, and an i7, a GTX 1080, 3 solid states in this new one. Trust me, there's fucking problems, and I haven't any videos up, but the new one should be here tomorrow. Just so you guys know, I got so many questions today. New PC should be here tomorrow, and I should have something out by this weekend, I would imagine. So just so you guys know, but there are problems, and it is what it is, guys.
Well, they're Frankenstein machines. When you're putting multiple parts together, something's about to fall off. That's how it works. It's, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Consoles are pretty much set platform, same specifications, all made to run on the same things, just like throwing the same McDonald's hamburger off the same assembly line. You know what I mean? Like, there you go.
I'll give you a quick example. Of course, I love playing on PC. I play on console as well. But I got Far Cry 5 on the PC. And for the first 5 days, that game, I would get 15 minutes into the game and it just kept crashing. I kept troubleshooting it. It just kept crashing. In the last 2 days, I've finally been able to play that game without any crashes. So
that sucks.
PC is awesome, but it's not that straightforward.
It's got additional flexibility and performance, but it's also got additional problems, and that's okay. I don't even know how we got on the subject, but I feel like people rag on console only guys, and I'm primarily a console guy. Because they think that they just are too dumb to play PC or they're too poor, and it's just not true.
Let me tell you something, because I've been getting this a lot lately because I talk about how power matters and everything, and people, these PC guys tell me, well, if you think power matters, you should be playing your games on PC. That is the true best representation of these games. I'm tired of hearing that, because I just do not want anything to do with PC gaming. It's not my thing. I don't shit on it again, but it's not my thing. People stop with that. If you come at me with that stuff, I'm not going to listen to it. I don't care. It doesn't trigger me either. I'm a console gamer, period. That's it.
Yep. And I'm sure there are a lot of people. Hit that thumbs up if you agree. You understand where we're coming from. God damn it. We're going to move on to the next subject. Actually, speaking of special, we're talking about a BioShock reboot that's being developed in a top secret 2K studio right now, reportedly. You're talking about BioShock. I don't know. What do you think? Is BioShock 4, BioShock 3, a new take on BioShock 1? What do you think it'll be?
I want a new BioShock game, man. After playing that last one, I want a new game. Definitely.
Oh, I loved it. I loved Infinite.
You guys play the BioShock collection?
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. 1080p 60 on the console, looks great. And I got to run through Infinite on the Xbox One as well. But anyway,
You can't record on
You can't record. Yeah, 2K
Or take
disabled the
screenshots,
ability to record or take screenshots on those games. I don't know why.
It's irritating.
But yeah, it is irritating. I like to share that footage of BioShock 1. That's by far the best one to me. So look forward to that, potentially an announcement here in the next year, I would imagine, 6 months.
It's been, 11 years since the original BioShock, so maybe they're looking for a reboot?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Where do you think they take it?
I hope it's a reboot because, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit fatigued from all of these remasters. Just give us some new games. You know,
why a reboot though?
Same franchise, just give us a new take on it.
Yeah, why a reboot though? Why not just a new game?
Because each game is kind of its own reboot in a way.
You
know what I'm saying?
Well, BioShock 2 was a continuation right after the first one ended, and then Infinite was its own dimension. You know,
Infinite connected back to BioShock.
Holy shit!
Oh yeah, we got a full panel tonight. The Ashton and Luca showed up.
Yep.
So your
like I said, I would.
Did it end quick?
No, she actually let me in early because I got there at 6, and then she was like, "Oh, you can just come in." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then we were talking a little bit. So, but
yeah, I didn't know if you'd made it, but we kind of made the announcement that this is your last month on the show, and I want you to kind of give people, your kind of what's going on with you, and because of course they're curious.
Oh yeah, no drama cheese. I'm literally just going back to school.
No drama cheese.
Actually, a couple of guys in my Discord were like, "Did dealer just say Luca's leaving? What happened? Oh my gosh! Like, what's going on?" And I was just like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. It's all good, guys. It's all good.
I was just like, "I'm going back to school. Chill." Like, I work a full-time job, 9 to 5, and I just I want to get my education on. You know what I mean? So
yeah, get your education on. All the Lucaholics. You know where to find Luca as always, her YouTube channel. But hey, Luca, we're talking about BioShock. What are you expecting? What do you want?
I think it would work best as a reboot because they can't really do a continuation. BioShock Infinite kind of wrapped it up really nicely with the DLC. This is what I heard. Like, I didn't play that game, but this is what I heard. Like, everything connected back to the first game, actually. Yeah. So also, it's a different studio because Ken Levine, he shut down his studio. He's like, okay, we're gonna go do other things because we don't want to get burnt out.
Shock, I think.
So yeah, so he's just like he is credited as why BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite are so great, and he's not gonna be there to, head those projects.
He's apparently been working on something since BioShock Infinite, but I know this is kind of not everyone gives a shit about this subject. We got a lot to talk about, so we're gonna go ahead and move to the Inside Xbox Episode 3 debut. They've said it's May 10th right now, so of course May 10th will be the date that you can expect that. And as they said last month, or this month, I guess, expect much State of Decay news, similar to how you saw Sea of Thieves. And just be prepared for all those that get triggered because they don't announce fucking Scalebound 2 there. So you know what I'm saying? The expectations are a little ridiculous, don't you think, New?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
They are absolutely ridiculous. Anybody got anything to say? What you'd like to see that's kind of realistic?
I don't. Just Cold Eastwood wants to see like a little, just a little teaser that Crackdown is still alive. Like they actually still have the code they're working on.
I understand that, but at the same time, I would do that shit at E3.
Well, Phil said in a retweet, somebody mentioned him. I think it's about over a month ago that he said all was fine and well with Crackdown. That's all he said. Is that things are on course.
Yeah, things are going.
And Phil also said it came out November 7th, and like a week later, he's like, "Oops." So I guess we will see. Salty, what are you kind of expecting out of this?
Hey, in order to get a 10 out of 10, I think Phil Spencer needs to show up on a unicycle and juggle the whole hour. I think that would get a 10. Right?
Yeah. I actually would like to see Phil Spencer on more of those shows. What about you?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Honestly, he's liked by a lot of people. I call him Big Deal Phil. A lot of people hate him, but
Big Deal Phil.
Deal. Okay.
Is it deal or dill?
I like Phil. He's a cool guy. Wish he'd join my parties. I keep spamming him with invites and ignoring me.
I used to do that, and then he put in that do not disturb feature because of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we invited Fonz to the party with Phil, Fonz was talking about all kinds of weird shit. Yeah, Phil, that's what's going on with my family. Here's my credit card information. Like anything else you want? Like
Oh my gosh.
he was going hard with Phil, but that was really cool to talk to Phil Spencer like that. Did you ever think you get to talk to Phil Spencer, Fonz?
No, see, it's one of those things where when do you ever get to talk to these execs, these higher ups at these companies like this? It's very, very rare. And when you do, you just kind of start talking because you want to get everything out and say, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? You want to pick their brains. And
we learned some stuff about game share and stuff. Like,
we
learned
did
some stuff, you know, like he's a real laid back guy.
Hey, I almost got you guys I almost got Xbox to cancel game share because luckily that didn't happen.
Yeah, it turns out Phil gets shit from third parties for the game share feature even being a thing. They don't like that. So I don't know. But, you know, I don't know. We can only talk about so much stuff. But Inside Xbox, May 10th, expect State of Decay 2 news. And for those freaking out saying it's trash on May 10th, which will happen, you know, Luca, what do we say to those people?
Get over it, frauds.
Get over it, frauds?
Like, literally, people, I don't know, man. They need to chill. They let us know exactly what the show is going to be about, and yet every time there's a show, it's like, it's boring, it's trash, Xbox is dead, Xbox is done, fuck this. And I'm like, all right, relax.
It's trash, I love Sony's E3, but this is trash.
Yeah.
Temper your expectations, guys.
I think this month's Inside Xbox was a lot better, so I'm excited for next month's, and I'm excited to see more State of Decay news.
Like I said, it's just like the old Inside Xbox show. It's just got a little bit of a budget behind it. Hey, speaking of that, we got over 400 people watching live. Guys, hit that like button if you can. Let's try to get up to around 300 likes for the end of the show. Hellblade impressions, and of course the goal. The goal was met. For those that don't know, Ninja Theory, the game's developers, said, hey, if we can sell 50K in the first week, we'll donate $25,000 to charity. If we can hit 100K sales or in the first week, we'll donate more. And the game hit its first goal in, I think, 4 days. It's not going to hit its second goal, which is unfortunate. But if you look at the sales chart they put up, the sales are going up steady, aren't they, Colt?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's just like this at the beginning, it's really low, like at the 10 games sold, and then it goes right up to 50. So they said the numbers were delayed today. So I actually saw a couple posts where the anti-Xbox guys were like, looks like they don't buy game. Oh, oops, here comes the tweet.
So what happened? Biggie fucking took out the wallet and bought everybody a copy or what?
Hey, I bought a couple for my patrons, and then I bought a copy for myself. Nice. So I bought a couple copies, and I'm glad to support a game like that, even though some people might think it's slow or whatever. I actually thought it was a very unique experience, and this is where my impressions come in as I beat in the game. It's a little slow at the start, but it's more of the experience inside of her head. It does things with spatial audio I've never experienced before. It's probably the best looking game I've ever seen in my life. And this is a little $30 game, and it's a 7-hour campaign. So, and really, Fonz, that leads us into the question about these one and doners, right? Let us know when you got that up. But Hellblade, I thought it was pretty damn good. It's an 8 out of 10 for me, and it's.
Am I the only one who's played Hellblade that is actually really impressed and really enjoying the fact that Hellblade just fucking keeps it simple? They don't first of all, there's no HUD on the screen. There's no icons or anything to pay attention to other than the graphics itself, the environments, and what she says. And I love it. There's no RPG elements. There's no leveling up your fucking sword. There's no fucking 50 friggin' outfits to try to gain. You don't need to get a key and a fucking boot to open up a door, to get to another door, to talk to a guy who tells you how to get to the next door. And
what did you think of those puzzles, Noof?
I actually kind of like the puzzles. I thought they were really cool. I thought they were different than other games. They weren't over complex. It was perception, right? You had some of them were very trial and error. I love the game. I think it was great.
So here's the thing. You know, I've never played the game, and one of the reasons why is it's really the whole mental health issue and everything just doesn't. It really doesn't appeal to me in a game. But the puzzles, now, from what I've heard from friends, is the puzzles are horrible.
Yeah, they're awful. I hate them.
Like I heard that basically it's just like you look around the environment for certain symbols and stuff, and you just find yourself looking for a needle in a haystack sort of thing, and that is not fun to me.
That's true.
Even if they do suck, like The game is unique, and just the visuals carry it through that. I like the combat. A lot of people don't understand the combat fully. They think it's clunky, and then they go play Sea of Thieves and love that combat. They don't understand that you can combine the dash and all the different attacks and combos and melee.
It's not clunky.
No, I don't think it's clunky at all. Like I think even just her putting up her guard looks badass. Hit right bumper. She fucking puts that sword up. You can tell it's got weight to it.
Combat forces you to listen to the audio because when there's somebody behind her, she goes, "He's behind you," and that's why. So you try to keep your back always sort of to the wall, and it forces you to strafe, like to do the move to get out of the way. A lot of people don't get that. You notice the camera stays centered. It doesn't try to pan up or out like a lot of games because that's what it is. It's trying to force you to listen to what she's telling you.
Yep. That's part of the experience. If you're not listening to it with spatial audio or headphones, you're literally not getting everything that game can give you. So I don't know. I thought it was cool, man. It's very adult. It's very, very dark in the way that she dies sometimes. If you die too much, your body gets taken over by this darkness and you basically lose your save data. But don't worry, for those that are casuals or not into that, you can basically tune that how you want it. But it's definitely unique. It's a $30 game. It looks better than anything you probably played. It has a locked 60 frames mode, which is great. And I would say that it's definitely worth giving it a whack.
Especially considering the price point.
Healer, I gotta say, give a shout out to Slomo Backslap in the chat. He said at the Ashen Luca.
Oh,
so I heard you're leaving RDX because they raised the minimum height requirement. And
Don't worry, Fonz will get kicked off too, though, right?
Hey, it's true, and it's underneath me. Damn it, it's underneath.
Oh man,
the height requirement is 5'8 3/4 inches.
There you go.
So
Jay Foy in the super chat says nothing but love for RDX chat. Thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate it. So,
did you guys notice one thing in this game? Just one point. Did you notice that when you're trying to pan the camera around in front of Senua, did you ever notice that when you try to look directly at her face, she turns her head away from you?
She's like, no. Yeah.
She's like, stop it.
I thought that was kind of neat. I didn't notice that at first, and then I was like, I stopped the game there once. I was trying to try to take a screenshot thing, and she keeps turning her head. You're like, you shy little bitch.
It's probably because her sense of self is off.
Yeah.
Because she has so many voices in her head, so she doesn't actually know who she is. So that's a good little detail there.
Yeah, it is. It's good stuff, man. So for those curious, just type in Hellblade Xbox One X trailer, and that's what the game looks like in that trailer. Go try it out. At least watch the trailer. It's for Xbox. Speaking of legends, Shenmue 1 and 2 coming to Xbox. Shenmue 3, Shenmue 4. Shenmue 5, Shenmue 6,
Yakuza 1, Yakuza 6 came before Yakuza 0, but then there was Yakuza 3, but that was actually a precursor to 4. It's like, shut up.
I'm not downplaying the fact that millions of people love Shenmue 1 and 2. I am one of those people who love the games. So for me to have these in HD remastered, it doesn't look all that great to me so far from what I've seen, but man, I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to dabble in them again because just the fact that these games hold a place in my gaming heart, so to speak, I got to have them.
And that's the great thing about options, man. Yep. What do you think about this, D? You look like a Shenmue guy. He's like, I got a kid again. I had to mute my mic.
Somebody in the chat said sham wow.
About cow Shenmue.
Oh man.
God. Had to get at least one off during the show. Yeah, that's pretty bad. So Shenmue fans, all 7 of you, it's coming to Xbox. Now here's something interesting, Luca. Xbox turning down exclusives, right? Now here's the thing. Cliffy B is talking about this on Twitter. Somebody asked him if he would partner up with Xbox for some shit. He says that they apparently have turned down some of his projects, or at least one of his projects. He said, ask Microsoft about something called Dragonflies. So I'm guessing a game he pitched to them had something to do with Dragonflies. And to add to that, right, and this all goes in the overarching theme, David Jaffe, the God of War creator, this is the original God of War, much different than the one you know today, says that as soon as Xbox greenlight one of his projects, he'll make a game for them as well. Apparently, he's tried to work with them before. He tried to get them to greenlight Drawn to Death. and says he really likes his Xbox. So that's the God of War creator saying that. He's tried to work with Microsoft in the past, according to him. What do you make of this? Are Microsoft afraid to take risks, stuff like that?
Well, I definitely think they're afraid to take risks, but let's think of it like this, right? So, how did Drawn to Death do again?
Not great.
Oh, okay.
It's like one of the lowest rated games on the PS4 library right now.
And
it is. It's like a 4.
How
It's
did
like a
Cliffy
4.
B's last project do?
Not great.
Oh, okay. Listen, I'm under the assumption that, you know, a lot of projects get pitched and canceled. I don't think this is anything too surprising. And then, you know, we got to look at it like this, right? It's Cliffy B. This guy has said certain things before in the past where it's like, is that like when he said that he couldn't have Lawbreakers for the X because it's too difficult, right? And then there was a slew of other developers saying that is definitely not the case. So clearly he has some bitter feelings.
Clearly he's frauding a little bit, right?
Yeah, he has bitter feelings towards Microsoft. He doesn't make that a secret, but it's like if they denied the project, it was probably for a reason.
It's not even just about that with me. I agree with you that Microsoft is not really taking risks this gen. I mean, that's evident by lack of AAA IPs and not really going after those marketing deals and stuff. But when you look at stuff like what Lucas said, Drawn to Death, come on, it's Drawn to Death. And then you get like Cliffy B. Man, you know what? I'd be leery of anything Cliffy B pitches because this guy is blatantly trying to cash in on new trends. That's all he's doing. And in fact, he's on record as saying he's trying to find the next $1 billion game.
Yeah.
The thing is when you are a developer and you have a cloud of judgment, you're looking at your games now as dollar signs instead of having that passion for creating something innovative, and you're going after trends. F you.
Yeah, that's a great point, Fawn. Especially if you look at his newest project, it's basically Fortnite, but like a trash version.
You look at you hear about game developers talking about their passion for games. You look at CD Projekt Red and what they've created, and they're not all about the money and the microtransactions and shit. And then you got Cliffy B. I want to create the next $1 billion thing. Here's Radical Heights, just a complete Fortnite ripoff. Screw you. Yeah. I don't care if you ever make another Xbox or PlayStation game again. You suck. Go back to the
that was a fantabulous rant.
You also got to remember that while some of these devs like Cliffy, while David Jaffe, et cetera, some of these guys might be extremely talented and they may have had struck lightning in a bottle or had a great game in the past. You also have to look at a track record that they also come from some very big studios that they ran for a very short period of time, and then all of a sudden they either left the studio or maybe they were kicked out of the studio. There seems to be a lot of also internal politics within big corporations and studios that run them, because sometimes their head gets a little swollen and it's basically, well, we have these ideas and if you don't like it, I'll take them somewhere else, and then that's why you see guys like Microsoft and other companies trying to hold on to those IPs in case, they get the little, the guys, the creators, their ball sacks fucking get a little too swollen and they can't get their fucking shit straight, and it happens. I mean, because you look at Hideo Kojima and shit that's going on with Konami, and these guys are revered, but yet at the same time, like I said, you're only as good as your last game. And in terms of David Jaffe and Cliffy B, well, their last games didn't exactly light the world on fire.
Yep. Hey, I got to give a shout out to Metaphorical Media and the super chat. Thanks so much, bud. And you're 100% right, Noof. As a matter of fact, Fonz, that was a very good rant. I think you touched on a lot of stuff there. And you know what? I think people should think about that a little bit, because you got to have a certain amount of consumer goodwill before you're allowed to get away with some fuckery, in my book, right? So CD Projekt Red, some of these elite developers, I think maybe they should look at those guys instead of looking at what's popular. You can't tell me Cliffy's like, yeah, Overwatch or fucking Lawbreakers, an Overwatch clone is what I want to make as a developer right now. Like anytime you're compromising what you want to do for money, and we even see this on YouTube, then it really, shit, it's obvious. Shit comes out in the wash. So hit that like button if you agree with Fonz's rant. I certainly do. I thought it was fucking phenomenal. And, anybody else got it? Salty, got any takes on this?
Yeah, Cliffy B's the snake oil salesman. You know, it's weird to me, like how often we talk about this dude. I mean, he comes off as that guy that knocks on your door and tries to sell you, you know, car alarms or
you want to buy
satellite
vacuum
dishes. Yeah, yeah. And the fact is why would Microsoft double down on Cliffy B? It's like putting your house, you know, betting your house on the Cleveland Browns to win the Super Bowl. You know, it's not a good bet. But
no, it'd be different. Yeah, you're right, Salty. It'd be different if he was pitching something like I've said before, like a first party caliber of Gears of War, like something different, like this gritty, like big single player story thing that kind of pulls that passion that they poured into the Gears of War series. You know, if he was putting that on the table for Microsoft, they'd be like, oh, but Cliffy's chasing like the hottest flash in the pan, the Fortnite and the Overwatch, and that's where Fonz nailed it. He's looking for dollar signs, like the easy cash in. Like he didn't develop this Radical Heights, did he? It was something that somebody else made, and he just jumped in like Gearbox and bought it.
You don't want a developer to come in and have that at the forefront, money being the forefront of his willpower to work on a game or something. You want him to be passionate about the project he's working on, not about, is this going to make money or not? That's bullshit. People have to realize that. And for people in the chat that are saying they disagree with me, you know what, man? I don't know what to tell you. Just look at Lawbreakers and look at Radical Heights and tell me if I'm wrong, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I think greed ruins a lot of good games.
Yeah. Leave that to the publisher. Leave the greed to the publisher and leave the hard work and the passion to the developers. Yeah.
I just think
I'd rather upgrade my car with loot box cards. I want an exhaust card I got to put on my Need for Speed car, and then a supercharger card I got to get from Loot Crate to put on my car. Like that's how badly some of this stuff's gone. So somebody was just talking. Sorry, I don't know who it was.
No, I was just saying that gamers are not going to give him any kind of respect. Like he's just copying and pasting these games, and it shows. Lawbreaker, I don't know, man. That was just an Overwatch clone and a bad one at that. And based on his track record, I don't see gamers taking another chance on him. And he's a douchebag. I just don't like him.
You got to remember, this is the guy that I destroyed on Twitter, like, I don't know, 8-9 months ago, because he was talking about Xbox fans, because they were annoyed because they were the ones who supported him and got him where he was, and he was just giving them shit because they were curious about why his game wasn't. You know, this guy doesn't care about anyone in the chat right now, and his track record really doesn't say otherwise when it comes to quality control. So it's one of those things where even if you disagree, yeah, that's fine. None of us are going to agree on everything. You know, but I do think that Microsoft do need to take more risks. I absolutely think that they should take more risks with Gears of War 5. 4 had Chapter 3 and up was great. You know, 4 had a lot of greatness in it. And it's a good game. Even on Metacritic, it's 85 or some shit on Metacritic. It's a good game. It's a great game. And I think 5 can take it a step beyond with a bit more narrative and a bit more of that that visceral acting, like when spoiler alert, 5 years later, Marcus gets taken by the Snatcher, and JD walks into that room and says, you know, God damn it, but he fucking yells it, and that's like better acting than all the other Gears combined to me. That's what I want to see more of, like a little bit more of that visceral stuff in those games would be appreciated, and invest more in that. And of course, you know, do your thing, invest, make new games, whatever. But
can you clear up something for me real quick? This is an offshoot of when you're talking about Gears. A lot of people talk about how Xbox doesn't have any exclusive that looks anywhere near the caliber of God of War or Uncharted 4 or Horizon Zero Dawn. But I really think that people discount the look of Gears 4. Like you and I played through that campaign about 6 months ago, and I was really impressed with the environments, the way that everything looks. Like when you get in the electrical storm, when you're out in the moon.
Tight.
Yeah, there you go. Like I think I really think people they don't look at Gears of War 4 as a visual showcase.
Well, Gears isn't the only one. Halo 5, like let's get something out of the way. The pictures these people are using in Uncharted, Horizon, they've even gone as far to use pre-release Uncharted 4 footage that was never in the game. They'll take that picture of Nathan Drake's face is not even in the fucking game and say that it's what the game looks like when you're playing it, when it's absolutely not. What they're doing is they are taking pictures of the characters in the cutscenes when all LODs are ramped up to the max, all settings are maxed out, and saying that's what the game looks like. And it's not. We all know those games look amazing when you're playing them, but
I'm not trying to say that Gears of War 4 or Halo 5 looks better than anything in place. I'm just saying I really think that people totally ignore like the environments. I've looked around in Halo 5, like there's some beautiful environments. It's just really cool looking game.
Well, it looks great, but I think people are more about the gameplay itself,
the whole package,
the story, the whole package. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, recently with visuals, though, they are saying that there's nothing that compares, and there is. Like that, you basically what they're doing with God of War and all these other games is taking Kratos from the cutscene, or some dudes are taking the action figure or a poster, and they're putting it in their videos, acting like that's what Kratos looks like in the game. And in the cutscene, he looks absolutely phenomenal in the whole game.
He does.
I'm getting God of War day one, just to be 100% clear. But when you're taking those cutscene pictures and you're using them, you also must then do that for Gears of War. And there's some fucking photorealistic shit in Gears of War 4. Like, no joke.
With GT Sport, too. GT Sport, they'd show the picture of the car against the real life backdrops and take the picture, like, look at this amazing game.
And that's
it's
exactly
like,
why they put that feature in there, you know?
Fake car on a real background. Like, come on, dude.
Yep. So Gears 4 has some photorealistic shit in there, some amazing looking shit. Halo 5, in those cutscenes, you might as well take a picture of Locke's big ass fucking head and say that's what the game looks like. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like those LEDs are max to the max, and it's just a little different than shown in game. But all these games are getting really, really good looking on these iterative upgrades. So
you can even look at a game like Rise of the Tomb Raider, and there's certain shots in there that blow me away.
Oh yeah.
Oh, playing the fucking game, that game looks insane with those 4K textures. Nuts. So at the end of the day, it's all good, man. You know, here's what I will say for those saying that nothing like looking like this on the X. Imagine if God of War were on the X. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know,
would there be less Turok effect? Would there be less fogging?
I don't know. Like I have zero bones to pick with the way God of War looks on the PlayStation, right? But if it were on the X and you left it checkerboard, you could add 30, 40 more frames per second worth of effects plus Ultra HD textures. The game would be fucking crazy looking on the X.
You know, one of the best looking games on PlayStation that oddly nobody ever really talks about is The Order. That fucking game I think is still one of the most impressive looking games on the console. It's just too bad it was that, like I said, the game was lackluster. I wouldn't call it terrible, but yeah, it didn't hit the mark. But holy shit, that game looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks great, man. That's what I'm saying. There's a ton of good looking stuff. Shout out to over 500 people watching us live, guys. Hit that like button if you can. Try to get to 300 likes for the end of the show. We're talking about some God of War and some bullshit. Of course, it's all powered by Twitter. That's where all the bullshit in the universe comes from.
Top Dog in the chat says Tomb Raider doesn't have 4K textures.
Yeah, Top Dog, it actually fucking does, and they all carry over. They carry every single mode has 4K assets. That's been confirmed. Now, here's where Top Dog's getting that information. Top Dog plays it on the PS4 Pro. Yeah, you're right. That one doesn't have 4K assets. So yeah.
No, we were talking about the Xbox One X, Top.
And when we say 4K textures, we mean textures that are high resolution that are designed to shine on 4K displays. They don't literally have to be 4K. Prove it. Get it me on maybe I don't know where can we get it? Where can we do this? Where can I link in that Digital Foundry video so I can destroy him again?
No, you don't have to do the homework for him, dude. You've already done it. It's his job now.
We've already shown this.
Go Google search it under Eurogamer and read the article about the Xbox One X enhancement.
And those textures shine through in all three game modes. So once again, Top Dog, maybe that's why you're not so impressed. You're just not informed as usual.
It reminds me of the other day I was in a podcast and this guy kept telling me that the Last of Us remastered was 2160p at 60 frames. And he's dead wrong. It's 1800p at 60 frames.
Yeah, you got a 2160p 30 mode and the 1800p 60 mode.
Yep.
And in both modes, I mean, the game shows its age. It's just the bottom line. I mean, compared to the stuff we're seeing now, especially. But I got it. I own it digitally.
How dare you talk about one of my favorite games ever? How dare
you? Well, let's talk about a shakeup in leadership then, since we're talking about Tomb Raider and those fantastic Xbox One X exclusive high-resolution textures. Let's talk about a guy that helped bring Tomb Raider, the reboot, into the forefront. So we got a new Xbox One boss, not the boss of the whole division. He's just an executive, meaning he's in charge. He's a boss somewhere doing some shit. And of course, he is best known for his work on the Tomb Raider reboot. And he is currently an Activision executive before this, which take that or leave it. I don't know. I can't stand that part, but he did help bring Tomb Raider back and bring Warcraft back. So his name is Daryl Gallagher. I don't know. Whatever.
Gallagher.
Yeah, and he is now working at Microsoft as one of the Xbox bosses and an Xbox executive. And they basically are him and Matt Booty, the new head of Xbox. So keep in mind, Phil is head of all gaming, Matt Booty's head of Xbox, and this new guy is an executive that's going to help lead Xbox in certain directions. If it's the direction of Crystal Dynamics, which he used to work at and lead there, then that is absolutely great news to me. Tomb Raider, phenomenal.
Yeah, not only that, yeah, he led on games like the original Tomb Raider, the reboot anyway. Unfortunately, though, Colt, he didn't lead on Gex. Okay, he wasn't part of.
So what is that?
A Gex game or a reboot or anything?
The fucking Gecko game? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Gex.
Gex on the 3DO, is that the one?
Yep. I'm going way back.
You know what else he did? Him and Matt Booty, they both are teasing big surprises at E3. So it looks like he's getting to work early.
Don't you think that this could be a possibility of him, doing starting a first party sort of studio for Microsoft? Like,
I think so.
Yeah. I did a video on this, and if you look at the way it's lining up, they're reshuffling the heads. Phil Spencer is an executive now. He's head of gaming, and then Booty took his place, and now they're hiring outsourced people. The way that Booty talked about this on Twitter, he said that we're going to talk about it at E3. Why would he do that if it was just a simple hiring? I think this points towards a new first party studio. He'll be the head of it. And if you even go back a couple months back, they were trying to hire devs that could work on a game in the mold of Horizon Zero Dawn. This is just my speculation. I would be super excited if he was to be the head of that studio that would tackle a game that would be on the level of not the level, but just the type of open world game that Horizon Zero Dawn is.
Yeah, man. So. I mean, honestly, and we've said this before, I feel like Xbox have the first person shooter locked down when it comes to Metascore. Halo 5 is the highest rated first person shooter that's an exclusive from a first party. They've got racers locked with Forza. They've got the highest Metascore this generation for racers. They've got third person shooters like Gears locked down with the highest Metascores there. But when it comes to open world action adventure, that's where Sony dominate. And I feel like Microsoft needs some of those games. So this is a good sign, Salty. I agree with that, actually. I think it's really good. Do you got any thoughts on this real quick before we move on? Anybody?
I think they're going to announce a new first party studio, and I think they're going to go further and actually show us something. I think they're going to show us something because they know that the base needs to be riled up. They need to see something.
This year is absolutely massive for Microsoft, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would. And honestly, tell you, I love the Tomb Raider franchise, and Square Enix as a company, most of the games they put out, I've liked all of them. So with him hopefully being at the helm of a new studio gives us hope of us getting some better, or at least getting some more single player experience games, and at least quality ones, because they know he knows what it takes to get it done, right? So
yeah, I think you're right. That's I mean, more is better, and it's just the point where they got to take risks. That's all they can do. You need to make a new classic because some of these classics are running on Steam at this point without a major reboot.
Yeah. Well, we're 2 or 3 years away, maybe, from a new generation. Xbox has got to finish strong here. They've had the one down year. Phil's had his turn now to kind of right the wrongs and get the ship back in place. The hardware is there. It's going strong. Now it's time to bring on some of the games we've sequestered and asked for, and the Game Pass and stuff is out in the wild. They've done so many pro-consumer moves. There's no question about it. Now it's proof is in the pudding. Get some games out. Show the roadmap. Show us a few teasers, even if they are maybe a little later out than you like. It's time to keep the Xbox fan base strong and positive, because you're going to do some damage if you don't go in strong in the next gen.
Yeah, maybe tease us a little. Ghost of 2020, Ghost of 2021, Ghost of 2022, Ghost of 2023. Every year, you know what I'm saying? You got to fight fire with fire, right, Luca?
That's right.
As she climbs onto her desk.
Yeah.
Fight fire with fire. Would it kill you if they showed? And this is kind of a tricky question because this is kind of what got them in trouble when they showed off Sea of Thieves, when they showed off Quantum Break, when they showed off Scalebound, when they showed off Crackdown. And we haven't even, you know what I'm saying? We just saw some of these games, and some of them aren't out after all these years. Would it kill you if they did this again, but maybe ensured quality control and a release schedule?
I think they learn from their mistakes, and honestly, I feel like they need to show something because the whole we're only going to show what we're only going to show what we're releasing within the year. It's not working for them in terms of their base. At least.
Their competition's going all the way out to 2020, undoubtedly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Death Stranding, like when is that coming out? So
last time they showed it, Hajime said he didn't know what kind of game that was going to be. He didn't know what kind of mechanics it was going to use. Yeah.
So I would like it if they showed something. Just honestly, okay, I'm gonna keep it honest with you, right? Yes, I'm excited for new games, but I really want them to show something so these people will shut the fuck up about it. Like I'm really tired of hearing the same thing over and over again from fanboys.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. Hey, Fonz.
They could just show a splash screen at E3 saying this is coming with the name of the game and get people hyped. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what Nintendo did with Metroid.
Nintendo, yeah, with Metroid. And I just think they got to show their hand, even if the game is 2 years out. I don't give a damn. Xbox, show it. Show what. Get the people hyped up. Get all the Xbox, and not even Xbox gamers in general, hyped for the brand again. I want to be hyped.
I don't think Xbox has like a game like that, like with that kind of pedigree that they could just show like a really small teaser and get everybody excited. I don't know what else is left, like in the history.
Dude, you just got to drop a Halo. You just got to show the yellow fucking Halo mask and fucking have Chief say something fucking crazy, and people will be up in their asshole about that shit.
Well, that combined with some new IPs and Fonz, we've just passed up talking about Tomb Raider. I want you to address that question because I brought back the RDX live show question today. We've got some questions. I want to get some of them in, starting with that one hitter and quitter question we got earlier, right?
All right. So this comes from Aussie Gamer. He wants to know, should we always pay full price at launch for one and done games or wait for a decent price before buying? Okay. Now, guys, we want to talk about this one and done situation. This is a term that I personally hate. I despise because not only do a lot of people play these quote unquote one and done games over and over, these games, I get more out of a single player game sometimes than I ever do with any multiplayer game. There's games that stay with me, that stick with me forever. And I personally, like my two favorite games, I have hard copies for. And the reason being, maybe not that I want to go back and play it again, over and over, but it's because I have a love for those games. And to me, the passion that these developers pour into some of these games, it shines through and much more above any multiplayer game. So the one and done thing for me is just it needs.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. My own experience with even something like Arkham City, right? I think the Arkham games are some of the best games ever made. They're some of my favorite games ever made. I've beaten Asylum several times, City several times. I've gotten days and days out of these games, right? And really, when it comes down to it, there's a lot to do in a game like Assassin's Creed Origins or even Batman Arkham City Remastered, where you can spend literally days playing these games, New Game Plus, and if you really enjoy it, you're gonna enjoy it. But other games you may not go through, like Wolfenstein 2. Haven't been through that twice, but I still think that was $60 well spent because of the experience contained within that 15 hours. Another example, Inside, right? 4-hour game. I got more out of Inside in my head, in my mind. It left more with me than I did 40 hours of something like maybe Sea of Thieves. It doesn't really matter how long I'm playing the game. I want an experience that is different. And with all these multiplayer games going around, I'm looking for some single player stuff to balance that stuff out, if that makes sense, right? But at the end of the day, it all comes down to preference, right?
Yeah, I've spent over 200 hours in some single player games. So I don't know what people complain about with these one and done statements, okay?
Yeah. I don't really get that either. A lot of the single player games I play, like let's take The Witcher 3 for instance. I'm on my third playthrough of that. I played Persona 5 twice. That's over 200 hours. I played Dragon Age Inquisition 3 times. Like it's not one and done for me because I can get more out of those games than I would just a mindless shooter.
Isn't it what the game leaves with you too, though? Like the Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, right? I own that. I just now bought my first PlayStation games ever digitally, right? Because I think I'm a big Uncharted fan. Said that 1,000 times over the course of the years. So I felt like those were worth owning forever. That's an experience worth owning forever. And they're great. They're still great. I've
got to point out something in the chat. I'm sorry, but Stephen Roush says, Fonz, that is your opinion on the Xbox. The reason we don't get certain games is because players on the Xbox don't support those certain games. I call bullshit on that. I really do. I think Xbox gamers would support really good quality quote unquote one and dones, single player games, because you know what, they're gamers at the end of the day, and I think this whole stigma around Xbox being just a shooter box, it needs to quit, man. People,
yeah, it doesn't do enough to represent the community when people say no one supports those games, because that's not true. Like me and Luca talked about a week ago, I think the Arrow developer was like, "Holy shit, my game sold more on Xbox One than it did PS4 with double the install base." That's not true. Hellblade just hit its first goal in a week, and obviously it's a goal for a reason. That means they're happy with it to some capacity. Keep in mind that game's already been on PC and PS4 for 9 months.
Yeah, and I'd also like to point out that Hellblade only sold 500,000 between the PlayStation install base and PC in 3 months. So, yeah.
And if God of War was on the Xbox One X, I guarantee you it would sell 5 million the first week.
We need more PS3 games. Yeah.
It would definitely sell, but yeah, that's a steep mountain there.
Yeah, it's a steep mountain. Knowing, I should back that off. It would sell a couple mil, I think, the first week.
And you know what? Phil's been getting hammered over this, right? Since the God of War thing came out, a lot of Xbox guys would love to play God of War, and they shamelessly admit it. That's what you should do. There's nothing wrong with that. And Phil's actually said some stuff about this, Colt. What did Phil say about first-party stuff here recently?
He said that they're committed to do more first-party stuff and big single-player games. Yeah, but does that mean we've got some big surprises at E3? We didn't have any really big surprises last E3, did we? What were the big
third-party stuff? Yeah,
maybe we'll get a full Kraken at E3.
Well, it's supposed to evolve over time, right? So you get another inch of the tentacle every month. And
the noodle month. Water noodle.
That's what I told my girl.
Oh God! Then you had a baby. Then you had a baby. You might want to learn from that one, bro. So Phil Spencer sees something like God of War, and he's thinking, "Hey, I'm going to play that day one." And we're not fucking. Some people out there are radicals, right? Like they get mad at certain things like that. But I'm like, you know what? God of War looks fire. What are you going to do? Stop damage controlling. I'm an Xbox guy. That's proven. I don't even have to fucking prove it. But it's just one of those things where. You just got to chill out a little bit on that shit, because you got to give props where it's due. If God of War were an Xbox, I would buy that shit in a millisecond.
You're already buying that on
exactly. I'm already hyped for this game, and once again, that's completely fucking fine, despite what some of the radicals might say.
And wait a minute, that goes against everything that guy was saying, because you were an Xbox gamer and you were hyped for the single player trash.
Hell yeah! Hey, give me more of this. Give me more of this trash. Throw me in the trash can. I don't care.
I said on Twitter the other day, and I couldn't have said it any better, there are a lot of people in the gaming community, they only hear what they want to hear. You can give them facts, you can give them proof, you can show them videos, and at the end of the day, they only take out the narrative that they want to hear. They want to spin it the way they want to spin it, and that's the bottom line. Because I've seen so many videos, including like stuff that you prove here on RDX constantly over and over again. I've seen a billion videos done by Colt, which like proves a 1,000,001 points, and you'll watch them in the comments, and it's like, did you not even listen to a fucking word he said? Take the Q-tips and your fucking asshole and fucking listen up, because you're dumb as shit. You know what I mean?
Yep. You said it yourself, the dumbest shit. But when they make a claim, then we just link them real quick, and they look fucking stupid. So we get less and less of that as time goes on.
What were you gonna say, Salty?
No, I was just gonna say that there's these misconceptions out there. It's kind of like Japanese games don't sell on the Xbox, and it was the top selling game for a couple months, and then like when you look at single player narratives and stuff like that. I also have to say that the trend of gaming, like the one-off experience is still there, but if you ask developers and publishers, it's the one-off experience. It costs a lot of money to make, and you're seeing some of these single player games try to substitute in loot boxes like Assassin's Creed Origins, or they have DLC to support the game. It's just the one-off experience is important, but at the same time, we're seeing trends in gaming where these publishers are trying to implement ways to support the games over time to get more money, if that makes sense.
Well, and it does make sense, but here's the thing. I think it comes down to greed, man, because I've seen many, many videos done on this between these big companies and how much money they actually make on these games. And these games, they're focusing on that money aspect in these interviews and stuff, and they're telling you, well, it costs so much money to make and everything. and we want to make a return on it. They get their returns on it. It's just about making that extra bit that they want. And let's face it, the trends now with the games as a service, these microtransactions, loot boxes, that's what everybody really wants because of that revenue, that continuous
And that's
revenue.
why I get so annoyed when Call of Duty is rumored to remove traditional single player, because Activision made more last year on they made twice as much on microtransactions than they did all their games combined.
Yes.
So tell me now, Activision executive fuckface, why you would go out and remove the single player. But Salty, to go back to your point, you had a good point. Monster Hunter did 2 or 3 million on the Xbox.
So that's facts, right? That was a misconception, and it was proven wrong. The thing is, the thing that I worry about is Activision. They have number crunchers. They're all about money. So I don't think they would be doing this unless they felt like they can still make money. And I feel like they will, and that's unfortunate because if gamers go out and buy COD without the single player, let's say it's $60, and they go out and they buy that, then how fast is Activision going to say, hey, let's put time and resources into a campaign when we can just put out a multiplayer experience and get our money? And then that snowballs downhill, right? So it is up to gamers to show with their wallets if they want single player narratives to not buy COD. That's not going to happen.
I don't think they can go back in time, though. I don't think they can omit really the single player experience and get away with it, to be honest with you. Like Star Wars Battlefront, they got lucky just because the game looked phenomenally well and people kind of just gave them a pass on it. But the second game, they had to put that single player experience in it. I just can't see the game surviving without that single player experience.
You see Overwatch, and that's an example of a game that doesn't have a campaign, but they added content later, and it's one of the most popular games still. Two years later, Rainbow Six Siege doesn't have a campaign. Very popular. What did it hit? 10 million. So COD, historically it has a huge player base when it comes to the multiplayer. You look on Twitch, they're not playing the single player. They're playing the multiplayer, and that's what sells. So that's why they're trying to do this, believe me.
Well, good luck to them, because I'll never buy another Call of Duty again. So we'll see what happens. I just got literally 2 people DM me at the same time about this God of War 60 frames mode, which I have in the notes. The 60 frames mode is not 60 frames on God of War. It's more like the performance profile on Monster Hunter on the Xbox One X, where it's on average around 45 frames per second. But it did hit 60 frames one time that I saw. One time that went immediately back down to 53 and then 45. And I've seen it go as low as 34 just walking up some stairs. So it's definitely not a 60 frames mode, despite what some people have reported on.
Wait, was that during the sex scenes?
Yeah, the sex scenes run at 400 frames per second. So it is what it is. Just so you guys know, God of War not 60 frames. You probably want to play it in the checkerboard mode.
And you don't want to play in that mode anyways, because the frame pace it stutters. It's really not.
That's a game that will benefit from, like we covered, VSync, right? Or FreeSync. So yeah, that's actually a game that would benefit from it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. If the PlayStation 4 had FreeSync, oh my god, it would be buttery smooth at 45 frames per second.
Yeah, it would look pretty good.
I've heard from many people that reviewed the game that said that do not play it in that extra frames mode, because there are times it dips even below 30.
Jesus.
At 30. It gets to 30, sorry.
It's definitely a CPU bottleneck.
And why would you play a game with that jarring effect from 60 to 30? I mean, that's not.
Well, unfortunately, the game on day one anyway. I'm sure they'll patch this. They always do, but the performance mode is not going to do much better because that's a CPU bottleneck. But at 30, it's still dropping frames in checkerboard mode as well. So we'll see what happens. I want to talk about Xbox information about these exclusive leaks that I've heard about. Now, one of them we know is accurate. But there's another big one going around that is the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, Gears of War 2 Ultimate Edition. There's a video going around. I've gotten so many DMs about this on Xbox, about a Gears Ultimate 2. And personally, I would buy this in a millisecond because Gears 2 was the last one I went hard on. But it's a video of the main menu on Gears 2. Unfortunately, it is fake. So there is no Gears of War 2 Ultimate Edition, just so you guys know. There's a lot of spelling mistakes. It seems like it's translated from like Spanish, stuff like that. But once again, I mean, I kind of want this to happen, but it sucks that it won't. A lot of weird errors and stuff in there. So they used a lot of artwork from like Gears of War 3 and some of the menus. It's definitely fake. But What isn't fake is 343 looking for an elite graphics programmer that specializes in 4K 60 frames per second gameplay and rendering. So they are definitely looking for some top-notch graphics designers, which I was thinking, man, this is awesome because if they get their in-house engine running and just running visuals like nothing else out there on something like Halo that has the budget to do so, God, that would elevate the series quite a bit, you know what I'm saying? Like if they could really develop some new technologies,
isn't it kind of late?
It would benefit them.
If we're thinking they're going to put Halo 6 out in 2019, we need someone to make some graphics.
Well, this could be a guy that just is, people are blown away every day by Rise, Son of Rome, right? How the fuck does this look this good? It was day one. It didn't have the 10% from the Kinect, and it had underdeveloped SDKs. Like, it was definitely, if that game came out today, it would look a lot better. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So that was because Crytek are some of the masters of software and hardware. They burn boxes out. That's what they said. And this is basically, they're going to hire a guy that can do this kind of shit where they can, people wonder how some of these games look so amazing. They're looking for an elite programmer that can get every fucking drop out of the hardware.
Get those guys, man. I don't know. I really don't know why Microsoft hasn't just splurged and just bought the hell out of Crytek. Even just use them for all their engines and all that shit. It would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm. I've said it a million times. Like their engine is just well beyond what anybody else is doing. Like they have that tech demo out where you can actually do it in real time, and like the ray tracing that they even have in that game, and ray tracing is not even really a thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing. Like they should buy them, and Crytek is hurting. They need the money.
Buy the technology. You know what I'm saying? Also, something else I want to get out of the way real quick. Forza Horizon 4, the existence accidentally confirmed to be unveiled at E3 2018. So that's no big surprise. You're getting Forza Horizon 4 this year, and I'm sure it's going to fucking blow minds. But I will say 60 frames if possible, though. I think Ralph was full of shit when he said it could be done on 3. Honestly, I don't think it could be done on 3, or they would give you the option. But, we'll see. Hopefully it happens. Maybe it won't. D, what do you think about this dev kit stuff with PS5 real quick, man? Now, this is, we've kind of covered a little bit of this before, but there's a new analyst saying, no, this isn't coming out in 2019 like some of these guys are saying. It's 2020. And it's going to be done on a 7-nanometer process using GDDR6 and Navi. You think 2020 is definitely more accurate than 2019 or vice versa?
Yeah, I think 2020 is more probable, but I still think there's a possibility that they could do it in 2019, especially from a business standpoint, to get a head start on the next Xbox, because I'm quite certain that the successor to the Xbox is coming out in 2020. And just to speak a little bit on that, I was watching Digital Foundry's video earlier this week, and they debunked one of those spec sheets that were going out. They said it was fake. That one had 14 teraflops.
We knew that was fake.
Yeah, I think realistically, I think the next gen, I think they're going to be between 10 and I would say between 10 and 12 teraflops.
I would say 8 to 10 teraflops, as I've said before, because the GPU isn't their problem. The real story is obviously going to be the Zen cores and the Xbox and PlayStation, and that's going to bring to light so much more stuff that's going to separate these generations. It's all about physics and frame rate and animation and stuff. So I don't know. Hey, we got to give a shout out to over 500 people watching live. Hit that like button if you can. Let's get as close to 300 as possible. So, Salty, what are your thoughts about this as being a new Xbox One X owner, just like the rest of us? 2 years from now, would you buy an Xbox 2?
I've made it clear that if they weren't saying that CPU is buffed by a large margin and a majority of the games are going to be 60 frames per second, it's a no-go for me, man. I mean, what are they going to tell me that's going to be motivating me as a customer to upgrade my $500 system? It's like, well, you can get better 4K, or you can, it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Because like usually for me, I know it's about the games, so I don't want to get blasted for that, but a next gen console needs to feel next gen to me. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, they need to offer something that's next gen. What is that going to be? Because like when we bought the Xbox One, it was supposed to be the 1080p HD experience, but that didn't happen, unfortunately, with some of the games. But you know, with this one, it's just the CPU. I hope the CPU is there, and then I would upgrade. But if it's not, I'll stick with my X.
It's definitely going to be there.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be there.
Yeah, they're not going to reuse Jaguar.
They can't reuse Jaguar.
And they're not making those socks anymore, so it's gonna be cheaper to do Ryzen, even if they want to use a Jaguar.
You can buy a Ryzen desktop class APU right now for $99.
Yeah,
and so, that's not nearly the power, but you get what I'm saying. You know?
So, like, do you think consumers, because like we all know about 4K, right? They can buy 4K televisions. That's a thing. Like, do you think they'll recognize the better quality when it comes to frame rate? Like, do you think consumers will recognize that as something that they have to have, like a motivating factor to upgrade?
More importantly, I think the developers have probably been telling Xbox and PS4 that bottlenecking to get games to run at 60 frames has been a problem for all these years, and developers know that they need to be able to offer that. So I'm sure they've been telling Sony and Microsoft, make sure that power is there so there isn't a bottleneck. So if we want to put something 1080 60 or 1440p 60 or whatever happens next gen, I mean, that's what Dealer and I have been talking about.
This is the best way to explain it real quick is one look at these games, especially in their prime, and you're going to know that it's next gen. You're just going to have so much more going on and so much more detail going on, along with potentially a 60 frames mode. So, yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be well worth it. Imagine playing Far Cry 5 at 60 frames, at much better settings.
And I think the demand for PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X have sort of greenlit the next batch of consoles that, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't launch at the 500 mark. I know that like the sweet spot would be a little lower, but obviously I still wouldn't be surprised just because of, where the tech is going to fall in terms of price and efficiency, the margins that they're looking for. So I wouldn't be surprised. And I think most of the hardcore gamers are definitely willing to pay the 500. Again, if, like Salty said, the experience is a true next gen, and we're starting to see consistency in the titles, and there's a good lineup of must-have games, obviously, when they launch. It can't be just here's an Xbox One game basically from 5 years ago that finally runs at 4K 60 frames a second. Like,
no, that might be a possibility though through the backwards compatibility. You never know.
Yeah,
getting back to what Salty was saying, now with frame rates and graphics, of course, that goes hand in hand with power. But to sell 60 frames is really a hard sell for a lot of casuals, okay? Because there's a lot of casual gamers out there who say, even some hardcore that say, I don't mind games at 30 frames, I just want to have the highest graphic fidelity. There's a lot of people, because when people go into a showroom floor or whatever, they look at the visuals first. And even though you and I, Dealer, and we look at a game that's in 60 frames and we can see that difference, and it actually is visual, a lot of people don't care. And so that is a hard sell. So what they're going to have to do is basically push those visuals even further. And I
don't think they're going to market 60 frames. I think it's just going to be an option as it is now on mini games. But like I said, once you see what physics can really do for a game, like PhysX by NVIDIA, right? Yeah. Combined with something like Direct Physics by Microsoft, a DX12 powered physics based API that's in the works now. You're going to be seeing some next level shit with fluid dynamics and clothing and like Borderlands 1. This isn't. Now, I'm not saying PhysX is going to be the same as on the next gen consoles and none of that shit, but I'm giving an example of what's possible through physics. So let's say you'll throw a black hole grenade in Borderlands. I think it's 2 actually, maybe 1. They both support PhysX to my knowledge. You'll throw a black hole grenade next to some cloth. It'll explode. It'll suck the cloth hanging onto a grate into the black hole. The black hole will close, and it literally snips the clothing. It's gone in the form of that black hole. That kind of shit. Like it's really cool. A lot of physics-based stuff.
Just to add to that, also too, I think ray tracing is going to be a big factor in.
And that's Microsoft. That's a Microsoft tech that they could bake right into some kind of hardware chip. You never know. Yeah. Like there's something they could do with that.
And FreeSync is going to also play a big role in the next generation hardware, because all the TVs next year in 2019, they're all going to have FreeSync pretty much. They're all going to be able to do 4K 120 hertz, because once HDMI 2.1 comes on these sets, all these TVs are going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to have high frame rates, and I think that's going to play a factor into the next generation of consoles, because the TVs move the consoles and the consoles move the TVs. They kind of work together.
Yeah, and Samsung and LG, all these guys know that. But Luca, do you have anything to add on this? Any kind of hopes? Do you want to see Geralt's beard twice as detailed in the next game?
That would be wonderful.
You know that motherfucker's coming back from the dead.
Yes,
She wants
obviously.
more detailed tub scenes.
Okay,
All
listen,
right.
Okay, listen. I just want I want these consoles to do 60. I want that to be the new norm, honestly.
And I think it will. I know you're saying a lot of gamers, they can't tell the difference with 30. But in all honesty, I really do think the next generation hardware is going to be doing 60 frames per second at 4K. Honestly,
Now, D, I'm not saying that they can't tell a difference. I'm just saying that's a hard sell for some of these guys, because some of these guys really don't care. I mean, you've got guys in the community that say it all the time.
I'll say
I really think it's ignorance, because they're just used to 30 when it comes to every game except for shooters.
And I think if not to take a dig at Microsoft, but let's just be honest here, Sony kind of has the mindset of this generation. And if Sony says that 60 frames per second is where it's at, the gamers will follow like drones.
So I hate to tell you this, but next gen, I don't think all games are going to be in 60 frames, guys. I think it's going to be a developer choice.
Well,
and
that's for sure.
More.
Oh, it's definitely developer choice.
Yeah, but we'll have a lot more 4K 60.
Yes, we will.
So
they'll give us the options. Yes.
What are you guys' thoughts on the whole like Bungie saying that games in 30 frames per second are more cinematic? Like,
let's.
That's a
we can start off. We could be very accurate by just offering our thoughts on Bungie first, and then we can,
go back to God of War. What did they do? What frame rate are they targeting on the PS4 Pro?
At the performance, they never said 60 frames mode. They just said it's smooth.
It's about 45.
Yeah, so they're targeting 45. So obviously Santa Monica knows that game would be better suited at 60 frames for a 60 hertz television and up, right? So what happens is they only get to 45 because of why? The limitation of the hardware. And I think the developers are sick and tired of this generation of console having that bottleneck more than any other console, and more than all the PC configurations that they develop for.
Yep.
I think that they know that if a game doesn't have a 60 frames mode, like what are the recent ones we were hoping would get a 60 frames mode, like Assassin's Creed Origins?
Let's not bring that up, Colt.
Yeah.
That's kind of touchy.
You lied to me. It would be there if it could do it, but that bottleneck's there and they can't. So,
but here's the thing, Colt. Like PS5, Xbox 2, you're looking at God of War 2018 locked 60 frames of backwards compatibility, because all these games are going to be backwards compatible.
Yes, I agree.
So you'll be able to play your PS4 games like God of War on PS5. We've covered this in a video together. Witcher 3, which, by the way, Witcher 3 to mode on the Pro, somebody told me it would, and it doesn't.
It does not,
because they can't get close enough to holding that at any. So Witcher 3 is 60 much of the time when I play. I'd say 80% of the time it feels like it's 60 frames per second until you go into a city, as we've covered before. That game on next gen will undoubtedly run at a lock 60 frames no matter where you're at, and it scales from 1080p all the way up to 4K in the 60 frames mode, telling me they are planning ahead for faster hardware.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, hey, guys, we're running. We keep going. We got to end it. And we want to thank everybody for showing up and everyone on the panel, even if we did get carried away with our bullshit. We just kept going and going and going. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Hit that like button on your way out as we do some outros, starting with the Ash and Luca.
Oh, yeah. Good shit, guys. Noof and... let's see here. Salty, thanks for joining and covering for me. I appreciate it. And you can find me on Twitter at the Ash and Luca.
On Twitter at the Ash and Luca. Cole Eastwood, the most dangerous motherfucker around. How you doing, man? Where can people find you?
Dangerous. Just harassing people and calling them out for using toys as graphic computers. That's all right. We're having fun. You can find me on Twitter at Cole Eastwood. Add me on Xbox at Cole Eastwood. Add me on PSN at Cole Eastwood. I'm going to be playing God of War all week for the rest of the month. And
you know what, Colt? That's completely fine.
That is completely fine. That gives me that gives me a reason to turn on the old PS4. So I'll play that.
Talking at the beginning of the show, man. Or you were there too, right? 7 months literally since I booted up the Pro.
Yeah, and I'll be on the PS4, like it'll take me probably close to a month to just get the whole experience of God of War. You know, if it's a 30-hour campaign, I like to do most of that stuff and all the side stuff. So that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of frauds, Fonzarelli, where can people find you, man? Good show.
Hey, Captain Neutral here. Yes. And you can find me helping this community from the lack of common sense and logic. Over at Jay Fonzarelli on Twitter and right here on YouTube.
You know, some people are like, what the fuck?
Can you do the Optimus Prime for us real quick?
Autobots, roll out.
That's the best.
D-Batch, you late motherfucker. What's going on? Good show, man.
Thanks, man. You guys can catch me at D_batch on Twitter and, of course, on YouTube at D-Batch.
At D-Batch. And, of course, our guests. Thank you guys so much for coming in, starting with Noof. One of the best in the game, easily, in my opinion. What's going on, Noof? Thanks for showing up. Let the people know where they can find you.
Well, guys, make sure you get out there and you follow everybody here on the RDX podcast. Make sure you follow them, rate, comment, subscribe, all those good things. We're here to do it. That's what it's all about. To make sure you get out there and you buy a copy of Hellblade. I'm coming to your house to kick your ass. So do it. Get there, buy the Hellblade. Stop bitching. Stop whining. We won't bring the games. Let's go. Let's do it. Hasta la vista, baby.
And you can find him at Noof Nookum on Twitter. And of course, Salty, what's going on, man? Thanks for showing up.
Man, how do I follow that up? Saltiest Gaming, 2 words on YouTube, Twitter, Saltiest Gaming, the I is a 1, and Saltiest Podcast every Thursday, 8:30 Eastern. Thanks for having me on.
And that's a new day, right? You moved it from
Sunday to Thursday, yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So once again, everybody watching, we appreciate it. You literally power the show. And once again, my PC should be here this week. I'm really hoping, or I'm going to kill myself.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's really bad, man. I'm getting so many messages about this bullshit, and trust me, it sucks for me more than anyone else because I'm having a lot of problems because I don't have a good PC right now. So it should be here this week. He said tomorrow morning. I didn't have to have some extra stuff installed into it, so I should have it by the end of this week. And I can't wait to put out some normal videos again. I cannot wait. So once again, guys, thank you so much for checking it out. I got some special plans for a patron giveaway on the website because, of course, I haven't been able to do it as usual because of the PC situation. I barely got this laptop running the podcast. So bear with me. I'm probably going to give away double the games this upcoming month instead. So pay attention to the site for that. Once again, guys, thanks. We're out.
Console gaming for life.